Hey everybody, David R. Becker here with BeckerArt, and today I want to talk to you about creating and breaking old and new habits. It's kind of like the resolutions that you want to make for January, but a little bit of something you want to do and something you want to get rid of, basically, is what I'm going to be talking about today in this video. So, the first thing I want you to think about is putting white and black on your palette and getting in a habit of maybe using some of these. There's a reason that I use it, and if you there's some videos on my YouTube channel that talk about why I use white and why I use black and how I don't mix my blacks. I just buy the tube of black, and if I want them colorful, I put color in them. So it's one of those things that I want you to get in the habit of maybe using white and black. White is great for making colors that are pastel like. So you take a red and you can make a pink. And they're not opaque if you don't use them opaque. Like you can make it transparent by how you use the paint, how you use the watercolor. If you use even white in a wash and you put a little bit of color into it, you can still make that color very transparent, and it's how much pigment you put into the water and let it float. And so it'll become transparent. It'll just become a pastel color. And the watercolor places like TWSA, Transparent Watercolor Societies, they even accept that because it's transparent. It's just a color that has white in it, like a pink. You can use pink, just you can't use it thick. They're just looking that you don't use a white paint thick, like and put it on for like a light or something at the end. For that, you need to use the paper. But there's always ways around, making the white of the paper transparent. So that's one of the things you can maybe add to your palette is black and white. And so next thing I was thinking about, guys can kind of get in a habit of not using or actually using fresh paint. Using fresh paint is very important. A lot of times I see students using these dried up little pebbles they have on their palette, and so I want you to start using fresh paint if you're not gonna use Holbein. Holbein is a color that doesn't have oxgal in it, so it stays maneuverable, and actually as soon as you put water on there, it just reconstitutes really easily, and you can pick up a lot of pigment. You see, I use it every week, and I put the whole tube into my palette. Like these tubes like this that with the cakes in it, that's great for tinting. But when you want to learn how to use the paint and you do some soft edges and you use the pigment. So some of these don't have that much pigment in them. It's more like a food coloring. And I actually bought a set from Five Below one time with like 30 colors for like $5, and it was basically food coloring. And so, yeah, you can put a tint on something, but you cannot use it professionally, like use it with enough pigment so that you can control the edge in a wet into wet wash. So you use professional paints, and I want you to get in the habit of using. Like you can use stuff like this for like tinting. Basically, is putting a tint of color over something, and they're fine for that. And there are some cakes I hear that are pretty decent that they rejuvenate instantly by putting a little bit of water on them. And even like when you're using like a Winsor Newton, let's say, and you let it dry to a little hard clump, you can kind of rejuvenate it, but it takes a while, and not like Holbein where as soon as you put the water on it with your brush, you don't have to even like spray it for and like kind of do that before you start painting. You just as soon as you put your brush to the paint, it's already rejuvenated. It's really neat because they don't use Axgal basically. So get yourself some professional paints and don't use these cakes and give them to your kids. And actually, don't give them to your kids. Make them use professional stuff too. If you want to be painters and you want to become a professional, use professional products. All right, and so now we're going to start using standard size paper. So when you're using paper and you cut a full sheet of watercolor, 22 by 30 watercolor paper, when you cut into quarters, it becomes 11 by 15. Do you know of a standard size frame that's 11 by 15? No, you don't. And so you'd go into this list right here and you see that 11 by 14. So cut off an inch of that paper or tape up to that inch, up to that 11 by 14, and then paint within that standard size. And why do you want to do that? Is because then you can frame it and even mat it. Sometimes the mat boards that they cut standard mat boards for, but you have to do it standard size. And basically, the reason I'm doing this a lot is because I no longer want to use mat board and glass. And so if you don't want to use matte board and glass and just get like a plein air frame, you've got to start painting standard size paintings. You can, there's many different sizes that are standard, size framing, that so you don't have to custom frame, because it's just going to cost you unless you're wealthy and you just want to go right in and custom frame everything. That's up to you. But I am not really wealthy, so I have to go start doing standard size frames and standard size paper. And then when talking about that, I don't even use paper anymore. I try to put it onto a panel, right? And so I want to start using panels that I either make or I buy. This is one that Legion Papers just started making on aluminum, which is really nice. I mean, it's really super beautiful that they took a piece of paper and glued it to a aluminum panel. And so it's not bendable, it's nothing like that. So either you buy your panels and already applied, or you buy panels that you're going to glue your paper on it, and that should be standard size. Again, they make these now at standard size frames, and so make them standard sizes if you are going to make them and you're gluing it down. Remember that I have a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel of how to glue paper onto a panel, or just buy it. Like I said, just buy it from Legion, and a lot of the companies now are making and putting their paper onto a panel. Some are cardboard, or not cardboard, but you get like paper board. And there's many different kinds of boards that they are applying it to. I even think you can apply it to plexiglass, if you're going to do that yourself. So that's one of the things I'm going to start doing, is just starting to glue my standard size paper down to standard size frames. And I'll do that before I start painting, because it's a lot easier to do it before you start painting and painting on there, because it's going to be hard to line it up exactly. So you can just take your paper and either buy it, like I said, as a standard size, or glue it down. And so that's panels. And why do you want to do it standard sizes? Is because you want them to be on frames that you can buy, like plein air frames, so you don't have to put glass or mats on your watercolors. I'm doing that a lot. I'm trying to get all my students to do that, is because you get more money for your paintings. And why wouldn't you want to get more money for your paintings? Because it's the glass and the matte make it look like a print. Basically is what happened in the time that we always made prints. And so for that, you'd have to, use glass and a matte. But you can just buy these plein air frames, and now they have modern ones. These are kind of not as modern as the ones you can get, but you can get a wider size frame, and then just, don't use glass or a matte, but you do need to make your painting standard sizes and actually put them on a panel too. So just start doing things standard size, and you can get these kind of frames and start framing them like that. It's one of those things, you can make a resolution for it. And if you start doing it, we're all going to try to do it together as a resolution, but it's basically just a habit. You got to get in the habit of things, and once you start doing that, then you have to get into the habit. But sometimes you have to break your old habits, like not just taking out your paper and just start painting. So that's a habit you got to kind of break, and then create a new habit by gluing down your paper first onto a panel. And then you can wax it and varnish it, and it's all good, and you make more money, and it's easier to frame. So that's a really decent resolution, or actually a habit to get into and also break. So, and for the next thing I'm talking about will be a couple of other things that I don't have pictures for, but how about creating a new style? Just trying new things, try new styles. I know a lot of people like to take new classes, and how about a new style? Just try something different by taking a new instructor, and you may have to break an old habit that you had and that you want to try something new. You don't have to maybe like it. I mean, you may never use it again, but if you're taking the different styles and looking through different books and trying a new style, just try it. Or doing abstracts when you're doing, I've never done an abstract. Just try it and see. It's something you have to get into the habit of doing, but I always like to progress and try different things. And some things I keep, and some things I throw away, and I never do it again. Same thing with materials. How about trying new materials? New materials, find something that you really, really like that makes a different style, maybe even into your work. So using new materials, getting rid of old materials that maybe don't work as good as they used to. Like I was saying with the paints, maybe all you've ever used was those cakes, but try some liquid, not liquid, or actually there's even liquid watercolor. So just try different materials. You never know what is going to keep and what you're going to get into the habit of using and what you're going to try to get out of the habit of using. And so also, how about plein air painting? Instead of always painting in your studio, maybe try it. I know a lot, you need special equipment and for that, but hey, if you get a chance and somebody giving you equipment, or you're out there just doing it for one day and just to try it, I'm sure I would lend a person. I have tons of materials for plein air painting. Ask, maybe your friends have an extra little bit that you just want to try. So just try plein air painting and try to get out there. And even if you're out there just watching them, it's sometimes even a good thing to do. So just try to get in the habit of these things. And sometimes we get in the habit of not doing those things. And how about breaking that habit and just get out of that and just say, okay, I mean, you always heard about how bad it is to do certain things or something. Test it for yourself. All right. And so how about new techniques? A different technique like with salt, because you never used salt before, or alcohol. You can put alcohol into your paint to make it spatter or whatever. So try different techniques. Spattering. Speaking of spattering, that's my favorite technique. And so stuff like that too. Just try it, get in the habit of using it and trying new things, and making a habit of it is kind of good, because then, if you're never doing it, you never going to know if you like it or not. All right. And also take advice, like from myself and from other teachers and from even your other friends and your students. Take advice. You can take it or you can leave it, but ask questions too. Ask your friends about things and take advice from them and try it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But definitely, take advice. Take advice from me. I love asking questions from my mentors who I love their paintings and stuff. I would love to hear what they say. Some things I agree with, some things I didn't. And so like Irving Shapiro was my mentor, and he would never use white and he would never use black, but I've got over that, and I now use black and white in my watercolors. So take advice. You can take it or leave it. And then my thing I'm going to be really doing a lot this coming year is I'm going to teach all of you how to kind of create from your imagination or from your memory, from your mind's eye. And that's I learned in my job as an illustrator. I learned how to create from my imagination. And I think it helped me the most of anything in my whole career. That was one of the things that helped me most in my painting, was learning to work from my imagination and creating from my imagination. Not just working from a photograph all the time, but you can do both. You can create from a photo and from your imagination and put them all together. I mean, it helps you in so many different ways, I can tell you. And I'm actually trying to not do workshops this year, only because I want to get that book written. I have it actually written. I just want to put it together. And I am going to have a class for that, probably online, where I teach you how to draw from your imagination. And basically, it's a 2-month course. And you have to work every day for 2 months. And I'm going to be bringing that up. So it's something, it's going to be in a habit. And so the book is going to be 66 pages long, because that's how many days it takes for you to create a habit and then stay in that habit of doing those things. And so break some habits, create some habits. And so that's all I wanted to talk about today in my little newsletter here. And so have fun creating new habits and getting rid of some old ones. All right. So we'll see you on Thursday. We'll be doing hopefully some new habits of we are painting a nutcracker. So around the holidays, we're going to be painting a nutcracker. And so maybe you've never painted a nutcracker, so get in the habit of trying new things. All right. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.